What's happening, everybody? Ryan Thomas here live for another edition of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Today I'm joined by a great friend of the show, Josh Wrest. It's been a long time since Josh and I have talked fantasy football, Buffalo Bills, you name it. We're going to be diving into it today for the Buffalo Bills fans and for the fantasy football fanatics out there. Josh, thanks for joining me, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God, I love it as always.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun show. We're going to provide you a preview and prediction for Week 13 of the Week 13 Buffalo Bills matchup between the Bills and the San Francisco 49ers, as well as a little bit of a playoff push. We're going to try to help you not only get into the playoffs, but hopefully win your league. So, Josh.
And wait, real quick, too, I need help getting into the playoffs as well. So,
Oh, wow. All right,
dude, COVID has ruined everything. I'm telling you, man. It's a mess.
So I'm going to be – you're helping me by coming on the show, but I'm going to be helping you get into the playoffs.
Seriously, we need some work because COVID is just – we'll get into that when we get to the fantasy section, but I'll let you know what's happened to my team. So it's been a mess.
Good God. Yeah, I got some stories for sure. I think we all do for COVID and fantasy football.
Yeah, literally.
But, so the Bills play the San Francisco 49ers this week. I want your take on just the Bills season thus far. We're 8-3 heading into this game against the San Francisco 49ers, and we're playing the San Francisco 49ers in Arizona. And when I first heard that news, I thought to myself, please, Lord, no Hail Marys in Arizona. It seems like Hail Marys happen every week in Arizona, and I just don't want to see it happen to the Bills again, playing the San Francisco 49ers in Arizona. What do you think of that? Am I right to be afraid?
So initial thought was buy a ticket. Let's get out there and watch this game. Now they're actually not having fans, and I'm pretty sure. I think they're just going to let it roll. So, but I mean, this game, it should be an easy roll. I mean, when you look at a completely broken down 49ers team, right? I mean, not only from the quarterback to Bosa's still out, but even non-season injuries, that team is destroyed. It really should be a win, thick and thin. I mean, if I really like to be high on the Bills, it should be a blowout, right? I think I wouldn't like them to win by a point, but honestly, give me the win. I don't think there should be any question in that. It should be a win next week on Monday Night Football.
I agree. And the Bills, as you mentioned, they're the primetime Bills. The whole month of December, they're playing primetime games. And obviously, I think that's in large part due to arguably one of the most electrifying players in the league right now, and Josh Allen. I want Josh Wrest's take on Josh Allen in year 3. What is Josh's take on Josh? What have you liked? Maybe what have you disliked about Josh Allen in year 3?
I'll tell you this. I'm loving most of it. I think the biggest, and I think a lot of it is to do with Dable, but I really like that they just said, why do we have to not throw the ball all the time? Because everyone was always down on Josh Allen, right? Everyone was like, oh, he's not accurate. He can't do this. He can't do that. And they said, for instance, the Seahawks game where they're like, no, let's just throw the ball nonstop. And he performs quite well. You know what? This is my biggest take. I think he performs under pressure incredibly. I feel like he never really seems too discombobulated. You know what I mean? It seems like he's always comfortable. Even in the most stressed situations, he has all those fourth quarter comebacks. He always seems so comfortable in there. And I just think that's a great thing to have. And, I was down on him for that. I never would have thought maybe the year 1, I don't think I would look at Josh Allen and be like, this guy's going to have, no nervousness in the pocket. He's going to be a mess. No, he comes out and he just poise and he goes right. That's probably my biggest thing. Right. I think it's a great year. I think he's on pace for an MVP year. I don't think he'll actually get it. I think he's trailed back a little bit from those first couple of weeks, but I mean, you don't need an MVP quarterback to win, right? You could easily ball out. He's probably top 5 right now, right? So I would probably say I'm extremely thrilled, and I actually don't know if we've seen the ceiling yet. It's probably the best thing too.
I think that's a great take because it's year 3, and we've seen success from year 1. 2 years ago, you watched tape of this guy 2 years ago. He looks like a completely different guy now, right?
Oh God! That was the judgments.
Yeah, the adjustments were made, and I think too you touched on something really great there as far as his comfortability in the offense, whether it be with Brian Dable or whether it be with the weapons that he has. And Stephon Diggs, Josh, in my memory bank, can you think of a better acquisition than Stephon Diggs for the Bills in the last 20 years? I can't.
I still want to go into even for almost every team. So people like to say like the Vikings won that with Justin Jefferson. Great pick. Like that's good for you guys. But
Mhm.
you gotta remember, a first round pick for a player that's literally first in receptions, first in yards, like right out the gates, and as good as Stephon Diggs does for this team. I mean, it's had to have been 20, 30 years. Like this guy is fantastic from route running to even like spreading the ball. He can go long. He can do whatever the hell you want. He's literally exactly what you need in the Bills offense. Then, which actually is probably one of the downfalls for the Bills this year, is John Brown not being healthy. But I mean, we're kind of getting a little off track here, but when you look at this receiving core, I mean, it might be the best in the
Mhm.
league, right? Like, what's better? I mean, from
Right.
Cole Beasley, John Brown, Stephon Diggs. I mean, even Gabe Davis coming out of the woodworks here, as a rookie. Like, I mean, the team is fantastic with receiving, and I mean, is it one of the best ever in terms of the Bills? Like, it's a really good receiving core.
I would say it's probably the best receiving core since like Molds and Peerless Price, right? Like
Yeah,
those are the two that jump into my memory bank. And then as far as going back to the teams in the '90s with obviously Reed, Lofton, Metzelaars, and obviously Thurman was a receiving threat in his own right. So I think you're onto something there as far as the receiving core,
well, let
and
me ask you
I
this real
think
quick then.
that
Do
has
you
helped explode Allen.
do you think the receiving core has also reached their ceiling, or could they keep getting even better? See what I'm saying?
I
Because I don't
I
know. I think
yeah.
Diggs can keep going. So, and if you look at him, I think John Brown could get even better. I think Gabe Davis clearly can get better. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mhm.
Beasley's probably about it, but like, I don't know, man. That receiving core is quite great. They could use a really good, like, I mean, I like Dawson Knox, but I think he's kind of proving that he's not going to be like your number one tight end.
Right.
He's a great threat. I mean, he's got the speed, he's got the athleticism, but if they got like a really good tight end in there, I mean, they could be who knows in
They would
terms of
be they
receiving.
would they would be an even more potent force offensively, and I think too, like they've played 11 games. My biggest criticism is that they haven't really been able to establish the run with Moss or Singletary. They did that this past week though, which was great. If they're
Go
able
ahead.
to even do this, take this 28th ranked run offense as it was last week and kind of push it into like the top 15 of just these next few weeks, I think they will be a force in the playoffs, and I think they could easily win a playoff game for the first time in what, a gazillion years.
Oh. Actually, I have two questions for you then. So,
Sure.
first off, let's say, do you think with Moss and Singletary that like they can be that answer though? So, like, do you have any question that like the running backs in the room are not good enough to be top 15 running, or do you think it's just literally like because I know we've been throwing a lot too, so I want to keep
Right.
that in the factor. Also, maybe I mean they're young. I mean, one's a rookie, one's a sophomore. So now is
Right.
that the problem, or do you think we literally do need another running back?
I don't think they need another running back. I actually think the biggest issue with their run game is that the run blocking is a lot worse than their pass blocking. They're
Mm-hmm.
more of a pass blocking offensive line, and the situations in which they run are very obvious. I mean, obvious in the
Yeah.
sense that I'm watching it at home and I'm thinking that looks like a run formation. And if
Yep.
I'm thinking that, then
Romo's calling them
obviously
out.
Romo's calling them out. Yeah, I mean, obviously, everyone else is thinking that too, and I think that
Yeah.
they have obviously improved mightily in the passing department, but running the ball, I had hoped that at some point sooner they would have established a little bit of a run game. Better late than never. I mean, they did it this past week. Now they just have to continue to do it.
Actually, let me get into
These
that.
next
Okay,
few
that'll
weeks.
continue the question. So now,
Sure.
do you think they're going to continue to improve this season with Moss and Singletary? And then the third, we'll do a third question. Are we going to need that for the playoffs in terms of like going far? Like, are we going to need that, or can we continue to thrive off Josh Allen being our main threat with passing the ball? You know what I mean? Like, are we going to need
Right.
Singletary and Moss to step it up, whether it's the line or their fault, but whatever, the run game to step it up for
Mhm.
the playoffs? Because I mean, that's
I
big in playoffs. I always say.
Yeah, I definitely think that they need to have a run game heading into the playoffs because you look at the teams that they're going to have to compete against, the maybe Pittsburghs or Tennessees or whoever, some of those teams, they have far better running games statistically week to week than the Bills have all season long. I mean, out of the 11 games that the Bills have played, really only 2 of those 11 games they've been successful running the ball.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I hope that they can continue this upward trajectory because I liked what I saw last week out of their offense. They were far more balanced. Singletary got his carries. Moss got his carries, and I think they feed off of each other very well. They're very complementary to their skill sets. Moss is the battering ram. Singletary is the guy that can kind of squeak through. He's a small guy, but he's definitely a guy that can turn it on when given the ball. So I'm thankful that they are establishing a run game, but I thought, man, I wish it would have developed a little sooner, because I think they could have gone toe to toe with the Chiefs had they been able to run the ball, or even with the Cardinals. They got a little bit too pass happy with a 23-9 lead, and they lost that game.
Yep.
So frustrating.
I completely agree. That I don't even want to get into that Arizona game, because it's just I don't need my blood pressure up today. We're gonna just mellow out. I'm already drinking coffee. Let's just.
I know it
was just a heartbreaker, man. It didn't need to happen. We totally deserved to win the game. They didn't deserve to win that game, and we gave them the win. Like that was pretty much it. We didn't.
And it doesn't help that Arizona's lost every game since. So it's like
I think the biggest thing for me is like whatever. Like I mean, let's not say we're not going to make the playoffs, but I think we're good to make the playoffs here. But, like, I just wanted to see our record be as good as possible, and, like, that should be a win on the record. You know what I mean? Like, that should be a win. I don't think we should be 9-2, right? Like,
They do have Matt Milano coming back, and, you know, he's fully participating in practice.
So he's totally healthy, good, because that's why they did it. They had the bye then this week, so that's perfect. We need him back desperately, because actually here's another point. What is wrong with this defense here? Now there's a lot of things. Is it like actually the players we have? I know Starlet Tulele is not there for the run stuffing. I've also seen some speculation at the beginning of the year. They also said like, well, with no fans, because a lot of times like 10,000 people, they said the offenses will thrive more because they can communicate, switch things to the line. You know, you're not getting screamed at in your ear. It's easier just to dominate a defense. So do you think that's the problem, or do you think it literally is like we need star, you know, we have a hole with no Lorenzo Alexander? Like, what is it?
I think their defense, for me, does not have the defensive line that generates the pressure that they used to have. It seems like these past few years, Sean McDermott's defense could generate a lot more pressure than what they have. And I think that they have a little bit of a situation at linebacker with Edmonds that I think it might be because of Milano being out, but it might not be. And the only way to find that out is if Milano comes back healthy. Edmonds has taken a few steps back. I hate to say that, but I think he's taken a few steps back. And
why? Why do we think that? Because, like, I'll tell you this, that guy is beastly athletic. So, I mean, as a middle linebacker, you need that. He can literally be left and right in a second. So that's exactly what you need. I know he had problems in the beginning, like kind of reading the offense. And I think maybe in a good way, he might thrive off having like that Matt Milano on the side. Like maybe he can't carry that linebacking core. But I want to say you think he would be fine because he's done but he has taken steps back this year. And again, I don't know if that's because of COVID. I don't know if that's because Matt Milano's been broken. I mean, he's been injured himself. So I don't necessarily want to jump in yet, but I do want to say like it is cause for concern, right? Like he's not been performing as what you thought Tremaine Edmonds would, and you know what I mean? Like this many years in. So.
Right. And I think a little bit of it is he does need that experience around him. Out goes Lorenzo Alexander. They get A.J. Klein, who A.J. Klein had a frustrating start to his Bills career, but then he's gone off. You know, he's gone off these last few weeks. So I hope to hear more of – I'm hoping to hear more of Ed Oliver's name. Haven't really heard his name much.
I agree.
Haven't heard Jerry Hughes' name much. I haven't really seen a lot from the defensive line. Really?
You know, I will say this. I don't remember what the statistic was. I was listening to something, and you were actually talking about pressure. I can't remember the exact stat, and I don't want to butcher it too much. They were getting pressure in one way or another. I don't know what it was, but they were like top 3 or 4 in like some kind of pressure. I don't know if it was like the amount of seconds or something. And that's why I have to you'd have to dive deep into it because technically Ed Oliver could have 0 sacks, but like pressures to a quarterback would be key, you know, to put pressure on. Now, I don't know what those statistics are, completely pressure from all those defensive linemen. I don't know if you do or not. But, yeah, I mean, I think they do still, no matter even where they're at now, I want more pressure, though. Like, I thought Ed Oliver would be more, not like an Aaron Donald, but you know what I mean? Like, more, I mean, he seems, I don't know, he just doesn't pop out on the field to me, right? Like, I don't look at the defensive line. I'm like, oh, there's Ed Oliver, let's go. Like, I just kind of like, okay, Maybe one of them will slip through, but yeah, I think Epinesa has been pretty silent. I mean, it's his first year. I'm not too not too worried about that. But how about this? What do you think they could do for that? Do you think they need like more pressure from the linebacker? Do you think it's defensive coaching? Do you think it's straight up just players, like the defensive line's not playing to high of caliber? Like what?
Yeah, I think as a whole, I think it's depth. To be quite honest, just that simple. Like if they had the depth that they thought going into this offseason or coming off of this offseason, that they added so much depth to the defensive line, when really a lot of those guys just haven't made an impact.
And
not
Starr
yet, anyway.
Been terrible miss for the run game.
Right, and losing Starr was bad, and I think secondary wise, beyond Trey White, Teron Johnson has shown flashes. Dane Jackson has shown flashes prior to getting hurt in that Arizona game, but they don't have that solid number 2 corner, and not many teams do. But for an offense where you need your corners to cover, or for a defense, I should say, where you need your corners to cover, like Trey White can, and what is demanded of the corners in Sean McDermott's defense, you got to find some. I think that's going to be a top priority come the draft. I think that's first, second, third round.
Do you think
pick,
it's like a draft thing?
sure.
Yeah, go for the draft, or do you think they? I mean, we still have cap room too. You remember? Is there any free agents? Because we have cap room. Like I know we're going to have to sign players, and you always want to sign within the organization. But I mean, we got room. You know, there's no reason we couldn't sign someone if they're there. I don't know what you do, but I definitely think that corner and some pressure up the middle would be nice, or on the outside.
Yeah,
really,
I definitely agree. And to say that like the weakness and stating the banner here, the weakness as far as the Bills team thinking that it would be the defense, I'm still like the way this season has played out. Obviously 2020 is a weird year, but the way this season has played out, going in, we thought, the Bills defense will be shutting it down. The offense is going to be improved, but it might take a little bit for Stephon Diggs and Allen to mesh. Completely the opposite. It's completely the opposite. And for some of those reasons, I'm thankful, obviously, for Allen and Diggs. But I think that this team is the one thing we can say, Josh, and I think you'll agree with me on this, is that this Bills team is very entertaining to watch. Right? Like this is a completely new. Right. Yeah. And this is a completely new, uncharted territory for us as Bills fans these last 20 years, to actually watch a team that can go toe to toe offensively with some of the best of the best. So
hey, I'm not even 24 yet. Okay, I have never seen a team like this. I don't even know what this is. I still can't believe it. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I think, I mean, as you know too, being a Bills fan here, I think any week like something's gonna just flip and we suck. Like I can't accept it. But like let's be real, that offense is great. So they are clearly not the weakness. The defense is the weakness, and it's weird to say, isn't it? Because I mean, for how many years the defense has been just our like defense is good, our offense is terrible. What do we do? You know, but it's totally opposite now. And I mean, I like it in a way. Like you said, it's so entertaining to watch. I mean, that whole offense is just fantastic, and really, there's no sign of it going down. I mean, we have all these players not only getting better, but still like under contract. You know what I mean? Like Diggs is going to be here. We said all these rookies we drafted. Allen's on his 3rd year. Like he's still on the rookie contract. Actually, what do you think his contract's going to be? Because that's going to be a big cap hit for this team.
I've talked about this a couple times on the show, just briefly, but I think he's going to get over 35 million.
I mean, he has to, right?
Yeah,
like,
I really. With Deshaun Watson getting 39 million, with you got older guys that are long in the tooth but are great, great in what they've done for their teams, like Big Ben and Aaron Rodgers. But Josh Allen, Matt Ryan's making close to 40 million. I mean, Josh Allen's going to be in Buffalo. I think he's going to be in Buffalo his entire career.
I don't see a way he doesn't, because coming up from that farm town in California, the college he goes to, like this is his team. Like he's got the full support of the whole community. I mean, the coaching staff, maybe they will be here that long, could be a bell, but I mean, this is the community he needs. Like this is literally him. And I don't see why he'd leave, because we'll pay him. Like that's not the problem. He's never gonna have a problem with that. I don't think he leaves either. Maybe 15 years from now, but I just don't see a scenario either. Like it's literally built for him. I mean, he loves this place. He's only 3 years in. I don't think he wants anything else. Like, and that's really good for us though, like that we have that, because we need a franchise quarterback that we can finally stop for. I mean, going like I'm having flashbacks of EJ Manuel in the first round. It's not good, man. I can't do that anymore. I don't ever want to have to deal with that, dude. In that
EJ's a
draft,
great
I
EJ's a
love
great
EJ.
guy too.
No,
Yeah,
I
he
love
really is.
EJ.
Yeah, right.
His
But it just wasn't
coach,
meant to be.
his coach even said, "Why was he taken then?" You know what I mean? He was like, "What do
Right.
you guys?" And again, great guy. I mean, he's good for him. He's like doing broadcast, I think, on the college network. Great. I
Yeah, the
love EJ.
ACC
He's a
network.
fantastic
Yeah.
guy, but like not a NFL quarterback. And I don't know what that was. And if you just run down, not the past like 2 or 3 years, but if you run down after that, the amount of first and second round picks, I think they're like all gone, just completely
Yeah.
wasted. So
Yeah, and you know, obviously going even back further than that, you know, the whole JP Lossman thing, like that quarterback draft class is one of the best ever, but people forget that Lossman was drafted in the first round of that quarterback, and he's, you know, obviously he didn't pan out. You had Eli, Rivers, Big Ben. Three of those guys are going in the Hall. All three of those guys, I think, are Hall of Famers. I
have
really
literally
do.
been playing
And
nonstop.
yeah,
Eli's gone, but the other two are still going. I think Big Ben,
right,
actually going into the year, just quick sidetrack, I thought the Steelers were not the Steelers themselves. Sorry, I thought Big Ben was either going to get injured or I was like, he's getting pretty old. You know, he's a big guy. He's not
right.
like a athletic man. I thought, he'd probably end soon, but I don't know. Like after this year, I think he's got a couple more left in him. Whereas I was
do
totally like off
I
season. I
agree.
was like, I didn't think so. We're getting a little out of track. I just, that was festering in my
Yeah,
mind. I was like, does he have another 2-3 years in him? Because I didn't think that prior, but right, he probably
right.
does.
I didn't either, and I thought that they were setting the table for either Mason Rudolph or whoever else they decided
Darnold.
to move on. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, yeah. I mean, this offseason, I think, is going to be for the Jets, you know, to kind of touch on the division a little bit. The future outlook of the AFC East is so wide open outside of Buffalo. I mean, Miami is
I
putting
think
together a
Miami's
solid
good.
season.
I think
Yeah,
Miami is going
Miami's
to be
good.
good. I'm scared.
Yeah,
You know what though? I'd rather have a Buffalo Bills Miami like feud. And I'm telling you, man, that Miami. I actually said this on. I forgot what the podcast was called. Someone from California hopped on their podcast. So at the beginning of the year, I said the Bills are going to win the division. I said Miami's a little sneaky, scary team. I'm telling you,
yeah,
they have players. They also have picks like up the
yeah.
wazoo.
A lot of picks. Yeah, they've two first round picks this year.
You have Tua, which if he pans out, you got Tua. You got a receiving core. I mean, dude, they're gonna be a good team. I'd probably say next year. No, I'll probably say the year after that they will be like an elite team because you're gonna have another year of these picks. They're gonna get to build up again. I think they'll be good next year still, and then they'll kind of do what the Bills did. You know what I mean? Like last year we were good, and I think we're an elite team now for the most part. So
it all really depends on Tua as well. But I think that what's around Tua, and in particular that defense, they spent so much money on that defense, and it all was money well spent. I mean, their defense has been pretty phenomenal.
Shaq over there. Yeah, they got Shaq. Oh, that was another player we lost too, actually.
Yeah,
Shaq.
Yeah, I mean,
we lost some players.
Byron Jones, Kyle Van Noy's a little bit older now, but he's been pretty good for them outside of getting run over by Josh Allen. But
is that the one on? Yeah, is that the one on Good Morning Football? They're freaking out about.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah,
he got posterized. That's for sure. So obviously, I think the Bills are going to win this game against the Arizona San Francisco 49ers. And we'll move on to, talking about some fantasy football topics. This is an unprecedented year, folks, unlike any other. Each day has been we learned something new about this whole COVID thing. I don't even know what to think of it anymore. I'm just wearing my mask, doing my due diligence, as is everybody else, right? And obviously, COVID has had an impact on everybody, but I think fantasy football has been impacted mightily for fantasy football fanatics. What would you say, Josh, is like the biggest shock, the biggest fantasy football shock of 2020 that is like COVID related?
I think the biggest shock in terms of playing, I think would be the unprecedented buys. So, like for instance, with my one league did an earlier playoffs to avoid complication where it's causing more now. So for instance, I have the Panthers, DJ Moore. So the Panthers on a bye. And I'm like, but I'm in the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? The playoffs are supposed to be where you don't have a bye. So I'm like, this is just terrible. And you also, I mean, I'm not a guy that really drafts totally off the buys, but also like
Mm-hmm.
when your team's drafted, you look at everything and you're like, okay, I have a buy here, 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 but they're just all over the place. You know what I mean? Like the Steelers have been playing, the not, and then like, you know what I mean? Everything's just out of whack. A lot of the commissioners are like juggling around. Most of them are doing that thing where it's like, if you have like, for instance, the Steelers and Ravens, so like put your player in, but tell me your sub before the game starts, and I'll plug him in if your player doesn't start. So everything's just out of whack. So maybe either that or just the buys that you can't anticipate. Like, I mean, next week a team could not play because of COVID. So it's like, what if a team doesn't play next week in your playoffs? Like, for instance, I have playoffs. Like, what if, I mean, DJ Moore's not playing now, so that kind of stinks. Like, next thing you know, I could have Tyreek Hill not playing because of COVID. And I'm like, what do I do? Like, that's terrible. It's just, you kind of, but to be fair, though, everyone's in the same boat. You know what I mean? It's not like only my team has COVID. Like, any player, it's all the same. So you just kind of have to live with it and ride with it. It sucks, but so yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, and you got to just deal with it.
Now, you mentioned before we were on the air, you mentioned that you have a COVID situation with your fantasy football team. Let's talk about this. What is going on with your fantasy team as far as COVID? You state what has happened to you maybe this past week or heading into this week. I definitely have a situation.
Well, here, actually, if we want to do this on the show real quick, again, I have DJ Moore that is now on a bye. Mm-hmm. So this is, by the way, I want to run down this team. It's an auction dynasty league. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I have, and this has been a terrible year for me, but I have Patrick Mahomes. Okay. I have Kyler Murray. I have Nick Chubb. I have Christian McCaffrey and Michael Thomas. So Michael Thomas has been half the year didn't play. He's injured again.
Right.
I hope he plays.
McCaffrey's
been, and it's not even COVID related, so that's terrible.
Right.
Now, I do have DJ Moore, but I don't. He's on the bye, so now I take him out in a playoff game. I'm hoping Michael Thomas plays. I have Boyd in, but he's also down now because of Burrow. So I'm like, do I play him? But let me tell you my backups so we can go into this. So I'm going to start Thomas as long as he plays. I have Brashad Perriman. I have Jalen Reagor. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Jalen Reagor, yeah.
Yeah, I have him. Jarvis Landry, who had a good week, or
Jarvis Landry's trending upward. Yeah,
trending
upward.
Jarvis
Landry's doing all right. Yeah,
and I need 3 in there. So it's like Michael Thomas, if he plays, has to be in. I'd probably say Boyd because as much as you don't have Burrows, he's a very good player.
Yeah,
so I probably have to keep him in. So what would be my third? Like, would I just play Perriman or would I play Landry? I guess Landry, right? Because
I would definitely do Landry. Yeah, out of the 3, I would do Thomas, Landry.
But listen, Perriman's playing Vegas. Their D's been trending upwards, but they're a wild card team. You know, you don't really know what you're going to get.
I think the Jets will be in. I think the Jets will be behind in almost every game that they play in. So
throw the ball.
They should be throwing the ball. Right. They should be throwing the ball.
So probably if we had to pick on that lineup, you'd probably say Perriman, Landry, Thomas, right? Like naturally.
Yeah. Perriman, Landry, Thomas. Yeah, I would say. I wouldn't trust Carson Wentz throwing to Jalen Reagor. What?
Can we get into this real quick?
Oh my Lord! Yes, we can. Of course, we can.
So I've been saying this for about 2 years. I said after that, like he only had 10 games in that Super Bowl run, right?
Right.
And then it went to straight Nick Foles. After that, what has he done? Why are they still stringing on to this man? Right? Like, I think they're finally almost done, but I never understood. I was like, guys, he had like 10 good games. The next year he stunk, injured. Next year stunk, injured. I was like, when do you finally say the guy's just not good? I mean, he's terrible. He can't read defenses. He could barely throw the ball. Like, everything is just terrible with this guy.
He's regressed mightily. I think it's actually, I don't think he's bad. Like, I've seen him play well. We've seen him play well. We've seen him be productive.
Yes.
So we can't say that he sucks. This version of him sucks for sure. But I think it's mental with Carson Wentz. I think it's all mental.
So does it really flip around though? Because it's been like 3 years going on now.
That's the thing. If you're a quarterback and you're in a mental funk and you can't get out of it, then you're done.
Exactly. It doesn't seem like he can get out. Like, so how about this then? In course of the Eagles, do they just say, see you later and move on and, let him deal with his own thing? Because I don't see a way you pay him right now. Like, what do you, Like, why would you
Yeah.
pay that? I don't understand. Like, you
Right.
have Jalen Hurts.
Well, they did. That's the tough thing. I think they did. If my memory serves me right, I think they did pay him, but they heavily changed things in his contract so that
Well,
if
that's what I'm
he
saying.
got
Like,
hurt, he could get out of it and all that stuff.
exactly. Like I'm saying is, do you find an out? Like, are you like,
Yeah.
let's get the hell out of here? But also, this is my biggest point is, so that division is garbage division. Let's be real here. That's a
Right.
terrible division. Disgusting. Now, this is my biggest thing. So if they were in a good division and they were just playing terrible, would Jalen Hurts been in now? Because I feel like they're keeping Carson Wentz in just because the division's so bad that technically they're still in the run. Like they're right there.
Right.
So it's like there's,
yeah.
you know what I
I
mean?
think-
Like, why risk it too much? But I think that's the reason he's still in, because you can't really put Hurts in when you're on a playoff push.
To me, it just doesn't make sense to continue to believe that Wentz. It's almost like he can't stay healthy long enough to get into a rhythm, and then when he
Yeah.
is healthy, he might be worried about getting hurt. He might be worried about losing his job. But that's the thing. That's like a fragile mental state for a quarterback. Like if you're worrying about those things, you're as good as done. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he needs a fresh start. Maybe the whole thing with Foles winning the Super Bowl with essentially Carson Wentz's team is still in his mind. It is. I mean, it's fascinating to me because I have seen him play well. There's been moments where he's looked good. I think physically he can get it done, but he's just a shell of himself. He just seems like he's just shot mentally. I haven't seen anything quite like that in quite a while. So
Also,
I
real
hope for
quick,
the
I
best.
pulled it up for the Carson Wentz thing. So he is technically signed until 2024. Now they have a potential out at 2022. So like this year's in the books. Next year they'd have to play with him as well, and then they have a potential out.
Wow.
With some dead cap, but less than what it would be. You know what
Less
I mean?
than what it would be. Right.
Yeah.
If they paid him. Yeah.
And like I think on the path they're on, I think you kind of get out of that, right? Like if he still does this next year, the team's just trending downwards still. I think he has to go. He's not fantasy relevant because that's kind of what we were on. He's really got nothing. He's not helping that team at all. Now again, that could be mental, it could be skill. I think it is mental, like you said. It's just not good. Like
either way, I mean, you need results, and they gave up a lot of picks to get that pick to take him in that draft because Goff was number 1, Wentz was number 2, and they didn't know whether they get Goff or whether they get Wentz, depending on what the Rams did as well. They traded up to get the pick to get Goff, so it's unbelievable, man. I can't believe I watched this past week's game with Philly and on prime time, and I thought, my God, he is getting worse and worse each and every week. It's quite a sight to see.
It was like, it's honestly getting like, not, I don't want to say embarrassing, but like a little embarrassing, where you're almost like, he almost needs to get pulled out. Like again, I think it's because you're just so close to winning that division. Maybe he's better than, you don't know what Hurts is. So you're like, at least we're kind of winning. But like, man, it's just, I don't even know what to think. If I was an Eagles fan, I wouldn't be thrilled.
It's pretty telling too, and shout out to Kyle Hughes out there. He's an Eagles fan, poor guy.
yeah. Sorry, buddy. Although he does have the Super Bowl, so
that's a good point. That's a good point. But against Tom Brady too, no less. That's a fair point.
We'll give him that.
But Jalen Hurts, they draft Jalen Hurts. It's almost telling to me that they drafted Jalen Hurts. Did they know, like in practice, that Carson Wentz was just having these meltdowns where he was drowning? Like, I mean,
he was second round, correct? Hurts was second round.
Second round.
Yeah. See, that was sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when they drafted him in the second round, I'm like, that's a high pick for a quarterback. You know what I mean? You don't just draft the second round quarterback. Like that's maybe a third or fourth. Third or fourth can be like there was nothing else, maybe.
Right.
But a second round pick, you're thinking something, right? Like you're thinking maybe this isn't the guy. And then again, after you draft him in the second round, then Carson Wentz comes out and does this. I mean, I think he's going to get booted soon, and I think they might buy him out and say see you later, and I don't know what happens after that.
I think he would be benefited. I think both sides would be beneficial for both sides to part ways at this point. I think it would help Wentz. I think it would help the Eagles.
Maybe a trade-worthy scenario. I don't know who would want him, but I think it'd be more of like a buyout and see you later, and the Steelers pick him up. Probably goes in and dominates. I'll tell you this. I don't like that.
Maybe the Patriots.
I know. I tell you this. I don't like that the Patriots need a quarterback, and there's going to be some players. But the thing is, I don't think Darnold. Well, he won't be traded there. But I don't
Yeah.
want to think about the Patriots. They suck right now. They're bad. Actually, let's get into Cam Newton. I did not think he'd be this bad this year. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd be.
That's another
great,
guy. He started off okay, and then he just had a complete
He has
meltdown.
went down.
Completely fell apart.
I looked at the one game. I think he had like 80 yards, 2 interceptions, and they like won. I think he got more after that, but ended up winning the game against the Cardinals. I'm like, what is going on? Like this 2020 is just. Hold on, 2020. You had RG3 throwing to Des Bryant on the Ravens in 2020. That's what I posted the other day. I'm like, that's what we have. Hold on a Wednesday at 3:30. Everything goes at this point. So.
I tell you this, I'd take RG3 over Carson Wentz right now.
I would too. I mean, he didn't look great, but he has a better. I mean, Carson Wentz can run, but he has a better running ability, right? Like, Carson Wentz is literally. I mean, he did throw a pick six RG3, but Carson Wentz is throwing picks. He's just doing everything wrong.
He's fumbled.
Fumbles are terrible. Everything is going wrong. You know what I mean? Nothing is going right for that guy, and I feel bad. I hope it turns around, I guess, for him. I don't want to see anyone really fail. It's just, ugly. It's ugly.
It's really ugly. But with the minuses that 2020 has brought us, we have to talk about the pluses. For every COVID list player that there is, there's always a diamond in the rough out there. I got my diamond in the rough, my best waiver wire ad of the 2020 season. Bless his heart, in Jacksonville, Florida, as well. We'll dive into your favorite waiver wire ad for the Washington football team, no less. How about that? They don't even have a team name.
So actually,
I don't even know what to think of that anymore.
They don't even get me started on Washington football team. But nevertheless, these two guys. You know what's funny about this though is James Robinson, which is on a terrible Jaguars team, and Antonio Gibson, maybe not on the worst Washington team, but not a good team.
Right.
They're thriving, which is kind of weird because usually when you have a bad team, you would think they're going to be throwing the ball more. Your running back's not going to do, that well. I'm surprised that Robinson's still doing this well. And he was undrafted, right, Robinson?
Undrafted on Illinois State University. I didn't even know that school existed.
I don't even know if it is a school. He might have been coming out of high school. They just wrote it on his resume. I don't even know. They just threw Robinson in on a Jaguar team, and he's dominating week to week. And you know what else? I thought at the beginning of the season, I was, sometimes you have fantasy waiver wires that the first couple weeks and they just fall off. You're like, all right, see you later. He has continued to thrive. He still has.
He's an elite running back. He's elite.
Running back, and it hasn't stopped. So you pretty much get to the point where you're like, okay, he is elite. He hasn't stopped dominating. Yeah, he has been a diamond in the rough. But Antonio Gibson too, and I have both those guys on my one team. So am ecstatic.
Wow, that's amazing. Especially at the running back position. At the running back position, it's so hard to find that this is rare territory. There are guys that come out of the woodwork, but these guys have been the best at the position for fantasy football in 2020. And as you said, they're both on really bad teams, but they are getting fed the ball early and often. They're producing. I mean, I picked up James Robinson on a whim, thinking I saw that actually my dad in this league. Shout out to my dad. He picked up Chris Thompson, thinking that Chris Thompson, and fair play. I think at that point, everybody thought that Chris Thompson would be the lead back because he had been a lead back in Washington.
Because he was a Jaguar before too, right?
He was, yeah.
He was a Jaguar before. Okay, so he was a Jaguar. Yeah. I actually thought the same thing because I was thinking, well, Adrian Peterson was there right before I think while drafting he was there. He left. Then people thought Gibson, but also people were like, yeah, Chris Thompson, because he was the receiving threat, also running back. He would get the points. And then Antonio Gibson, actually, I can look real quick while we're talking. I think Antonio Gibson started kind of slow. And then,
I was referring to with James Robinson. I picked up Robinson because they cut Leonard Fournette, and Chris Thompson was coming from Washington to Jacksonville, and Antonio Gibson replaced Chris Thompson in Washington.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a weird little Rubik's Cube there. But I picked up James Robinson just on a whim. He was projected for 3 points for the week. And then they announced that he was the starter, and then he just balled out. I was
now he's projected 20 every week. 20 every week, undrafted rookie out of Jaguars. I can't even, dude, it's such an anomaly. And let me look at this. Like, I'm looking, he's got 30-point weeks, another 30. He had 23 last week, 22 carries, 128 yards, and a touchdown. Like,
he's had at least 15 points every week, I'm pretty sure, like in PPR leagues. He's been a monster. It's been fantastic. He's my favorite. He might be my favorite fantasy football ad of like the last 5-10 years.
I have one. Actually, I have two. For me, I had a year. I won the championship in my fantasy league. I had Michael Thomas off the waiver wire. I think he was a rookie, and his ball out year.
Yeah,
that was one of them. I won the championship that year. I also remember way back in the day, a little Alshon Jeffrey when he was on the Bears. Yeah. Right, he was on the Bears.
Like 13 touchdowns in 7 weeks or something like that.
That was ridiculous. Like a week 1 or 2 waiver wire ad. Yeah. And both those years I won, and they were waiver wire ads. I always remember Michael Thomas. Yeah. And also, I will remember James Robinson forever if I win this year, because I'm on pace to, well, not win, but I'm about to be I'm second in the league. I think I have 8 wins. And I'm about to get my 9th here. Well, I'm 9-3 now because the week just ended here. So I'm 9-3 now.
I tell you, if I win my fantasy football league that I've commissioned, this is the 10th season. If I win this year without Christian McCaffrey and James Robinson took Christian McCaffrey's spot, I will go to NFLshop.com and buy James Robinson's jersey. I will do it
right now. Book it.
I will do it.
Screenshot it. We're saving this clip. Well, it'll be posted. We are coming back to this day.
And I'm gonna keep. And that's a keeper league too. So I'll be keeping him in the last round if I decide to keep him.
All right, you know what? Here, I'll double down with you. I have James Robinson in that league. If I win that too, I'll buy a jersey as well because I have him in there. I'm on pace to win 9-3. If I win the league, I'll buy a James Robinson jersey. He deserves.
I don't know which.
I need a Jaguars jersey.
One I'll get.
I would get that like the dark color. I think it's like black and the blue one. I like that one a lot.
That is sharp.
Maybe the teal one, the all teal one, but I think I like the black with like that tealish blue. I like that a lot.
Yeah, the black is sharp.
Yeah.
So obviously we both cashed in on James Robinson and Antonio Gibson. So we both know a thing or two about making solid waiver wire additions. Who are some guys I do want to rattle off? I'll rattle off some of the guys that I'm targeting for Week 13. Players to target in Week 13. Number 1, and this is based on an injury. I'm hoping and praying, being that Josh Jacobs is on my fantasy team, hoping and praying that Devontae Booker doesn't have to come in and play, but that's a guy that I think everybody should go out and get just in case. If you need the guaranteed touches, if Jacobs is eventually ruled out this week, Devontae Booker, what do you think of the whole notion of adding Booker as a handcuff to Josh Jacobs?
I think that's fine. I mean, Gruden likes to run the ball. I wouldn't be worried about that at all. I'd say if Josh Jacobs isn't playing, I would totally add him. I mean, that should be an easy play, right? If you need a running back. I mean, my one league, I don't need a running back. I probably would still add him. But if you need a running back and Josh Jacobs isn't playing, easily plug him in. I don't think you'd have a problem getting probably at least 10 points, right? I mean, goal line is going to get the work. So I wouldn't be too worried about him throwing in a touchdown, maybe even rattling off more yards than you'd think. But I think he'll get the points. So, yeah, I think if you need a running back and Josh Jacobs, again, doesn't play, Devontae Booker would be fine. Wouldn't be scared about that at all.
I have a fantasy football topic that it just popped into my head, and I had it written down here, but it's one that I didn't think we'd get to, but I want to just kind of cut ahead of some of the waiver wire ads. What do you think of this whole thing with Taysom Hill? Do you trust in Taysom Hill, or do you think that we should be kind of looking away from Taysom Hill?
So personally, I do not like Taysom Hill. I don't understand. Like, I don't want him as a starter now. I just – right? Like, honestly, I'm kind of surprised they're not using Winston. I don't really get the taste. I think Taysom Hill is just a gadget, like in a good way. Mm-hmm. Like that's his position. I don't think he is an actual quarterback. I don't think I should buy into the hype. I wouldn't trust playing him because I also think they like that. Like he's like a mystery guy. You don't know. They're not going to tell you what Taysom Hill's doing. So this week they could come out and be like, "Oh, Winston's starting. Sorry, like Taysom Hill's barely going to play." Or he can come out and throw every ball, or he can come out and run every ball. He's just this gadget, random guy. And I just don't want to say trust in him. You know what I mean?
Right. I trust in him because I don't have any other option. That's
Well,
why I
I was
wrote
gonna
trust him.
say, what is your options though? Like, if you told me you had to play Nick Mullins, like
Oh my
maybe,
God.
you know what I mean? If like I don't
Oh,
sub him for a starting other quarterback, I probably, you know what I mean, like Stafford or something, I'd probably still play Stafford just because he's the actual quarterback. But yeah, I guess if you needed a quarterback, sure, like he does have the running aspect. I mean, how much more longer is Breeze out though?
that's the question. I mean, he's out
It's those
this upcoming
ribs.
week for sure, but I think these next 2 weeks they said for sure he is out, and then beyond that, he could be back for the fantasy chip. He could be back.
Yeah, I guess you got to remember though, because this should, for most leagues, this is the last week, and then playoffs. So I guess if you're looking for
Right.
playoffs and you need a player, I mean, again, my opinion, I'm going to say stray away if you can. That would be my opinion.
Mhm.
I can't trust it. I don't know what's going on with Taysom Hill, so I don't like it. You know.
Right. I think he's a polarizing player in general, and especially for fantasy
No, yeah,
football.
it's cool. I mean,
So
again, he has the running and receiving aspect. I don't want to start him as my starter. I don't like that, but
right,
yeah,
right,
I mean, I
right.
get it.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the most frustrating running back situations I think all year long, if I were to pick like one backfield, I want your take on this too. Like one backfield that has just been completely untrustworthy. One week one guy goes off, another week another guy goes off. But I think that the LA Rams have their guy in rookie, finally trusting in rookie running back Cam Akers. You got Cam Akers, D'Angelo Henderson. You got Malcolm Brown. It's been an RBBC running back by committee the entire season. It's been so stupid and frustrating for me because I had Henderson and then I had Akers and now I got Henderson again. Now I got to go try to get Akers. Do you
Yeah.
think Cam Akers is finally the guy? Like I feel like I hope Akers is finally the guy that they go to.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I think in the long run, Akers will be. So like, I'm not worried about that. I think
Mhm.
this year, though, because we're kind of winding down, I wouldn't rely on Akers just because the Rams he's a rookie. So they're not like fully giving him the reins. They should
Mhm.
have. They're not, though. So it's, again, like you said, it's been back and forth,
Right.
1 week this, 1 week that. I'd say like, we're talking too far ahead, but I'd say next year I would target him. Like I wouldn't let this year affect it because, again, he's a rookie. It's just kind of all out of whack, 2020, COVID. But I think he will be the back. Maybe even at the end of this year, like you said, like this could be it. He finally is getting the keys. I don't know yet. But if you had to ask me, will he? He will get the
Right.
keys. I think he will be the answer for the Rams. I think he will be the running back. When is the question? I don't know if it's yet. I hope it would be. It's looking like it, but I mean, I don't
Right.
know how many more.
Can't trust it. Sean McVay is just
Exactly.
oh my
I
God.
wouldn't put your trust in it yet. Like I think if you're well, I guess that's again, you remember though, with COVID, everyone needs players no matter what week it is, right? Like we're all still scrambling for players because
Right.
tomorrow I could have this guy out. So I guess if you needed the running back, I guess maybe, but I would look more into him next year, is what I would say. Because I think he will be the answer, just
Yeah.
maybe not this year with McVay and he's
I
kind of
think that
all over the place. And
right. I
yeah.
think that's fair.
Yeah.
Kiki Kuti with probably the coolest name in the NFL, Kiki Kuti.
Kiki Kuti,
This is a
yeah.
guy that I only put on here as per ad, just based on Will Fuller's 6 week suspension. Tested positive for steroids. I don't know what steroid it was, but obviously that's not good.
Yep. Yep.
So someone has to fill that slot role as well because Randall Cobb is out. So Kiki Kuti, I think, solid waiver wire ad. What do you think of the whole situation with Will Fuller in Houston with the wide receiver core?
Well, I'll tell you this. In terms of Kiki Kuti, I think he's a good ad. I mean, he's got the speed aspect. Clearly the Houston team is not doing well in terms of like being down all the time. You have Deshaun Watson down, which means he's going to throw all the time. Yeah, I like Brandon Cooks is a great receiver too. So Cooks and Kuti, why not? I mean, that's
Yeah,
exactly what you want. You want a good quarterback
right.
that's down all the time, so he's going to sling the ball. So yeah, I'd say Adam. I mean, you know, wide receiver, go ahead and Adam. I mean, I would say
And
Cooks
a
is
dude that
better
can
now.
sling it too.
Yeah, a dude that can sling it. So I
Mm-hmm.
would say Cooks rises, and I think Kuti should rise too because there's not really many other players there. And again, they should be down most of the time. They are not really
Right.
a great team. They have really digressed in a good way for fantasy though, because again, Deshaun Watson has him. He's a fantastic player. So he's going to get the ball out, and he's going to throw a lot, and he's going to get a lot of yards, and they have to be spread around. So Kiki, here you go, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I got some comments on here. So we got some comments. Mike Gerace says, think Beasley has a huge game this weekend. What do you guys think? Add him to your fantasy this weekend. Unfortunately, Mike, Cole Beasley's owned in every league that I'm in, but he's not on any of my teams. So I don't know about Josh here. What do you think of Cole Beasley from a fantasy football perspective this year?
I think he's done better than I expected. And that's only because of because again, we went over that Allen has done better than I expected. I didn't think he'd throw this much. So Diggs has done better. John Brown really hasn't been there. So yeah, I mean, I would say like, yes, Adam, but I don't think he's around that much. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's kind of taken in most leagues, even like as a stasher. But I mean, if he was available, depending on the receivers you have, or probably in a flex position, I think he could be viable. Yeah, I don't see why not. Right? I mean, he always has the aspect of getting 6 to 7 catches in the slot for 5 yards. You know what I mean? Plus the touchdown aspect all the time because Josh Allen is slinging the ball. So yeah, why not? If he's available, I'd say Adam, especially with John Brown injured.
Yeah, with John Brown out too. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Yeah. That's a good point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Zachary Young, USA Zachary Young. Can y'all help me with my lineup? Well, we need to know what the situation is there, Zach.
What is the lineup?
What is the lineup? Yeah, if he's still tuning in, let us know.
What is the conundrum you have? Let us know.
Yeah, I think everyone's feeling a conundrum in 2020.
If you don't have one, good for you. But I think everyone does have one. Yeah, it's right. Yeah.
So last and certainly not least, I put out a graphic of my top 3 Buffalo Bills players of all time. And I knew that it would get I wasn't doing it for clickbait. I was doing it just to put these top 3 out. These are the 3 guys that I think are the best Bills players ever. Here's why, blah, blah, blah. I had O.J. Simpson number 1. I had Jim Kelly number 2, and I had Bruce Smith number 3. I got my reasons. Yeah. But my question is, what are Josh Wrest's top 3 Buffalo Bills players of all time in the history of the Buffalo Bills? Who are the 3 guys that you see as the best 3 players?
We talked about this before. I will give you 3. I don't want to rank them 1, 2, 3. I also would probably rather have like a top 10 because it's the Buffalo Bills. But
3's harder, right?
Yeah, 3's very hard. So I'm going to pick 3 players. Obviously, Jim Kelly. He has to be in everyone's top 3, if not number 1. But top 3, I think Thurman Thomas, and I also like Andre Reed. That would be my top 3. So
okay.
I don't know. Like, it's so hard. I don't even want to talk too much into him, mainly because, I mean, I would like to add Steve Tasker. Like, I love him in there. And you know what I mean? There's just so many players from the old times that I like. And
you don't want to throw any disrespect. You don't want to be disrespectful to the GOATs, right?
You got to respect everyone. But I think if I had to pick a top 3, this would be like my top 3 in no order as of now, because I don't want to order them, and I don't want Jim Kelly calling me up tomorrow and yelling at me, because we're first name basis. We hang out and talk all the time. So
if you're on a first name basis with Jim Kelly, then you're in good company. His
nephew did go to my school and was in my grade. So.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember one time he would snap you pictures of Jim Kelly on his couch.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jim Kelly with his grandpa glasses on, just reading a book on the couch or watching tape.
Yeah, and he's just
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I would say, I mean, that's like the big 3, right? Like Jim Kelly, greatest Bills quarterback to date. Maybe Josh Allen does take that. We'll see.
Well, actually, do you think some of these, like Josh Allen, again, we kind of anticipated he's probably going to be here, I think, for most of his career. I mean, you'd have to imagine he's going to have to be a top 10 soon. If not someone's, no disrespect to Kelly, but start to get in the conversation of him. Not yet, but like if you anticipate he's going to play at this level for the next 10 years at least, right? He'd have to be in the conversation,
sure.
Right? I mean, So he has to start getting up there.
You go back, like, for historic value, like, the whole story of how it all came together and how it didn't come together and then how it did come together. When they originally drafted Jim Kelly, everyone knows he wanted 0 part of Buffalo, like to the point where he told his mother, like, I'm going to go upstairs and cry up my bedroom for a little bit. Just give me a minute. Like, and, his dad was like, we'll figure something out. He goes to the USFL, gets his choice of playing for whichever team he wanted. The league just wanted him that bad. They just wanted that star value that they said, hey, Jim, we'll let you choose where you want to play. He chooses to go to Houston. The receivers that he had in Houston were the receivers that Dan Marino had in Miami. Fun fact. So,
really didn't know, actually.
Yeah, so the fact that he goes to the USFL, this is where things get interesting. USFL is having some troubles. Houston Gamblers owner wants to sell some of the players off to other owners. 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, eventually becomes the president, but at this time he's owning the New Jersey Generals. He buys Jim Kelly's contract. And Jim Kelly was set to play with Herschel Walker in New Jersey for the Generals in the USFL, but then the league folded when they tried to go play in the fall. And the story is that Jim Kelly chose not one USFL team, but two USFL teams over the Bills. And when you look at it like this, Allen's in his third season. Kelly played here for 11 years. Allen's only got 8 more years to match Jim Kelly. That's not a lot for in football.
And then 2 more on his rookie, so he'll at least be here 2 more years because there's no way we don't, sign the 5th year. And I guarantee we'll sign him again after that for probably. There's no way we sign a 2 or 3 year because I think we know what we want. Right. So we'll probably sign 5 plus. Mm-hmm. So you're probably. I would say it's going to at least match Jim Kelly's time, right?
Thurman Thomas. Thurman Thomas famously said that Josh Allen is going to take every record that Jim Kelly's ever had.
He said
too. That. And
no disrespect, I think he will too.
Yeah. Just based on longevity and being more of an athlete than what Kelly was. Kelly was obviously a hell of a quarterback throwing the ball. But I think being more of an athlete, he's already set some records, and he's coming for Drew Bledsoe's passing record. He's got I think it's 1,200 yards left. I don't know if he'll get there, but it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome in year 3 to be coming for one of Drew Bledsoe's single season records. So, and then obviously you have Thurman. What do you think of Thurman Thomas and his career? Like if you were to kind of sum it up, what would you say?
I think I'd rather sum it up as I think I like him a lot because he still likes Buffalo community. You know what I mean? Like he still is very heavily involved. I know it's not really his career, but I just think he's really heavily involved with the Bills still. And obviously as a Bills fan and the whole Bills community, we like when players still stick with us. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
For instance,
that's a great point.
Jim Kelly sticks with the community still. He does work with ECMC, all this stuff. We love it. Josh Allen, there's all kinds of stuff. Josh Allen is in a different dimension, born from Buffalo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that Thurman Thomas, they all still talk about the Bills. Like, we love it. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I like a lot about it. So.
Yeah, and for me, I love running backs that can catch. And Thurman was like the first guy really that was used as like a solid route running back. It's pretty amazing when you look at what he actually did for the game and how he kind of paved the way for some of for the majority of what we see today, really, in the running back position. Pretty wild. And then Andre Reed, man, I actually met Andre Reed, and he is so damn cool. I want to talk to him for hours.
I've personally never met him, but
yeah. He's a really cool guy. And not only that, great receiver. So, I think your top 3 is solid. If you're looking for that solid big 3 offensively, can't get much better than that. And to kind of bookend the show, we got a lot of weeks left in the season, but as it stands, Super Bowl favorites, who do you see in the Super Bowl in the NFC and the AFC?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think that the Chiefs are the best team, and I'm going to stick by that. I just think Mahomes is just too good of a player, really, and I don't see us beating them. Obviously, the Patriots won't beat them now. Honestly, low key, I kind of see us playing them, but then losing. I think the Chiefs are better. So, anyways, I think the Chiefs. I don't think the Steelers are anywhere really even better than us or the Chiefs. Kind of weird. 11-0 team there. But from the NFC, I like the Seahawks early. I think they're showing some holes now,
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then you could look at the Saints. I don't think Breeze is really ready for a Super Bowl, though. He can't – he's not playing right now, but I don't really know if he would be Super Bowl caliber now either. I kind of want to go with the Packers on the NFC side.
I like that a lot.
Aaron Rodgers, personally, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks ever because he has a rocket of an arm. It's almost like a Josh Allen arm. He can throw on the run. He can roll out. He can even, like, quotations run. Like, he doesn't have to stay. He does everything.
Right.
He's so accurate. He's so good with the ball. And they also, I mean, they have Devontae Adams. They have Aaron Jones. They have players. I think if you're looking at the NFC, I think, well, actually, I bet on this a long time ago. The Packers beat the Saints. I think they're better than them. I'd probably say it'll be like the Seahawks versus the Packers for that
NFC Championship.
Yeah.
That would be a great game. And I mean, talking about underrated, Russell Wilson, and I don't want to say overrated or underrated for Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to say he's underrated. He's definitely not overrated.
This year, though, he's been
Definitely
underrated,
not.
right?
This
Because
year, though, yeah, he has.
I don't
been.
know why. I remember, dude, there was games like he's playing these terrible teams. He's like, I mean, in terms of betting, he'll be like a non-favorite, and I'm like, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, what are you guys?
Yeah.
You've seen this guy, destroy defenses for how many years now? Why are you guys down on him? Well, anyways, don't be down on Aaron Rodgers. I don't understand it. So I'd probably say Packers, Seahawks will be like those two teams. I mean, if you look at it, I don't think the Saints worth the hype. I don't like the Bucks worth the hype either. They do have a lot of players, but I mean, Tom Brady's like 43 years old. Like, come on, this guy can't go to the Super Bowl again. Come on.
Right. It's getting a little bit to the point where we need to see that next phase. It's just time, right? It's just time.
And they've lost 4 games. They've proven they can be beaten. Like they are not.
Yeah.
They're
not what they thought they were going to be. That's for sure. And I would love to see either one of these outcomes: the Seahawks against the Chiefs or the Packers against the Chiefs. I would actually prefer the Packers and Chiefs, to be honest, because I'd love to see Aaron Rodgers attempt to get a second ring, and it's very well deserved, to be honest.
Yeah, he probably deserves more than one. 2, 3, 4.
Definitely.
I still stand by. Well, anyways, hot take, but I kind of like him more than Brady. I think Rodgers is just such a good quarterback. And different teams, and
I could see why. I mean, every which way he checks off every box.
He checks every box.
There's nothing he can't do.
This team's still drafting Jordan Love in the, and they're, I just can't even. I can't fathom. You have Aaron Rodgers, and you're trading up for another quarter. Like quotations, get it? You did this for Rodgers when you had but come on, guys, you're push for another Super Bowl. Win the Super Bowl. Come on,
go get one of those great receivers that were in this draft, and
they still
get Rodgers a target.
Win. Yeah. They could have had Justin Jefferson, right? I think.
Yeah, they could have. Well, they might not have. I can't remember, but they definitely could have had like Chase Claypool or
someone
T. Higgins or I mean And that's another thing. Devontae Adams. Oh my God, this guy is goddamn good.
Oh, he's fantastic. I do want to point out, though, Rodgers also makes receivers better, too, though. So he doesn't necessarily, need those stars. I mean, they help, clearly. If you had, one of those players on there to help. But he is so good that he makes receivers. Like, Vandal Scantling, if he was on a different team, what would he do?
Right.
Yeah. Lazard, you'd be like, who is this guy?
Just like Peyton Manning, man. Just like Peyton Manning.
Yep.
It was saying the same thing. And I agree with you. I think that Green Bay defensively is getting better. They've shown some decent things, so I'm excited, man. But Josh,
who's that corner again though? On that, do you have Jair Alexander, right?
Jair Alexander,
fantastic corner. Yeah, they have decent defense too.
They're getting better.
So tell me this, and real quick before we end all this. So I'm saying Seahawks, Packers, Chiefs, and who? Do you think it's the Bills?
Chiefs against who in the AFC Championship?
Yeah.
Oh man,
because I don't think that the Ravens check off the hype anymore.
No, I think Lamar Jackson is. I'm not in a
non-disrespectful way. Remember how RG3 actually had that insane rookie year? He ran a lot. He didn't do as well as Lamar. Lamar had way more passes. Right. But when you look at it, it's like they're starting to read it, and there's what does Lamar adjust to though? Like, what does he do to combat this? He's not a quarterback that can throw to combat this.
The first team to expose Lamar was actually the Bills. When the Bills played the Ravens, they took the sidelines away from him and forced him to throw over the middle. Actually, took the middle away from him, forced him to throw over the throw to the sideline. He is not accurate. I mean, you want to talk about Josh Allen's inaccuracy. this guy, he's not at Trace McSorley came in for RG3
Dart to Hollywood.
and threw a dart to Hollywood that Lamar Jackson could only dream of throwing. I mean, I
I
hate to
just,
be a bearer of
yeah,
bad
I
news,
know.
but I'm
I
not
agree.
seeing it. I'm
I
not
think
seeing it.
he's like an NFL quarterback. Like, there's no way he's not going to be on a team. He's not going to play for a while. When I evaluate quarterbacks, I always think, who can win a Super Bowl? And I
Yeah,
don't think Lamar can win you a Super Bowl. I don't see
right.
how he wins a Super Bowl. So
He can't win games from behind. How can
I
you not
know
win games from behind and win a Super Bowl? It's just I
exactly.
think man, the Chiefs, I will say I think Buffalo is a terrible matchup for the Chiefs. I know that sounds crazy, being that the Chiefs beat us and they ran all over us, but they had to run all over us. That was the only thing they could do.
Yeah.
Mahomes, it was a bad weather game, but even so, Mahomes was uncomfortable. The coverage was pretty solid against the Chiefs, to be quite honest. They
Yeah.
kind of tried to take away Travis Kelce in the red zone. It's pretty impossible to do that.
You can never
Um,
shut down Kelsey. That guy gets
right,
yards,
right.
and he's going to do Kelsey things. Just shut him down as
I
much as you
think
can. Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh does have a better defense than Buffalo, obviously. So I
Yeah.
will say AFC Championship will probably be Chiefs and Pittsburgh. I could see
You think
that, but
Chiefs Pittsburgh?
I think the Chiefs beat anybody. I think the Chiefs are going to repeat. I just the
I think so
greatest.
too. I don't see how they don't. Right? Like,
Right.
I mean, what? It's just when you stack up that play. I think Mahomes beats some of Brady's records. Like, I think he wins again this year. I mean, okay, so I just keep thinking about watching Mahomes play every year. I think he's going to be the favorite. Like, I don't see how Mahomes isn't.
Right.
He's just so talented, and he does what Rodgers does and makes players better. So, like, you almost don't even. I mean, Tyreek Hill's good, but you almost don't need any other receiver. He's going to make them better. I know he does have players around him, but he's just so good, and he's going to be around until he's 40. So that guy is going to just be a problem in the AFC.
I love watching him play, and I think he's great for the game. And I think
Yeah.
the one thing I hear a lot still is that Buffalo could have picked him. I
No,
hate saying
no.
this. I hate saying this, but he would not be what he is if any other team picked him but Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. I really don't think he would be.
Not only that, but you can't say that because there was 10 other teams that could have drafted him too, or 9 others. Sorry, because we were the 10th pick trade. There was 9 other teams, so any of those 9 teams too, they could have drafted him. That's like any other player, right? Like 6 rounds of people could have drafted Tom Brady. It's like, shut up.
Yeah,
like, don't say that.
It is what it is, and I mean, he played for Texas Tech. It's not like he was playing, for Bama.
He's not Trevor Lawrence coming out and we like passed on him. Like, no, it was the 10th pick. He was Texas. Yeah, it wasn't. It is. I'm glad he's doing well. Don't say that we could have had him. There was 9 other teams that could have had him. There was all these other teams that could have traded up.
And at the end of the day, we got our guy. They got their guy.
Yeah,
that's cool. And I think that he got to sit a year behind Alex Smith, who I've always said is extremely underrated.
Yeah, that was good for him.
Yeah, I think him sitting a year behind Alex Smith, under the tutelage of Andy Reid, with an offense that is literally fail-proof. Like Andy Reid's offenses have never been bad. He's always had a good offense. Look what he did for Mike Vick coming out of prison. Mike Vick had his best year of his career, bar none, in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform with Andy Reid.
When you look at that Chiefs team, though, you have the deep ball meaning Patrick Mahomes can literally throw it as far as Josh Allen, and then you have probably one of the fastest men in the league with Tyreek Hill, and he's just this tiny little. You know what I mean? You can't even keep up with this guy. He's so tiny and small. You can't even tackle the guy. He just squirms around. Remember that Dallas game where they just threw it up to him and he just ran in? He was like, like he's so small and fast. You can't even get the guy.
He doesn't look human when he's on the field.
It's so weird. Like he's exactly, and it sounds weird. Like in a receiver, you almost want that with a deep ball. He's so tiny. When he gets that ball, you can't take him down. Like once he has space, like what do you do? Like you can't really get him. So. Yeah, it's and I hate that he's in the AFC, but I don't want to say they're unbeatable because I mean the Raiders beat them, but I think they're the best.
Yeah, I think they're the best team, and I mean teams have slip ups, and that's a divisional opponent too. So teams like draft, to go up against their division. So those are the teams that you're gonna have the toughest time against. Really, you should at least. But yeah, I mean, I think they're the greatest offense that I've seen since the greatest show on turf. Since Kurt Warner, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Marshall Faulk, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Le'Veon Bell was even there, technically.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
really
It's
not fair.
ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
But Josh, man, this was a great time. I'm so happy I could get you on the show. We've been talking about this for quite a while, and I'm glad that we can make
I
it
know.
happen, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Glad we
We'll
can
do it
make it
again
happen.
soon.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'll have you on the show, and we'll hopefully maybe we'll be celebrating the fantasy football championship on both of our ends.
Yeah, sir. I mean, if you want, we could do a little. Well, this will be week 13, and then most fantasy leagues should be in the playoffs. We could do another one next week. Get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I'm down.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm going to need some help myself, so.
yeah, I'll keep you posted. You keep me posted, and we'll talk soon.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Alrighty. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Ryan Thomas. That's Josh Wrest. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back on Sunday or Monday night post game show maybe, and we'll see you then. Thank you for tuning in. Take care, and Josh, thanks for joining me, buddy.
As always.
Take care. That was Josh Wrest on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I wanted to remind you all to subscribe to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on YouTube, like the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on Facebook as well. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. So you can subscribe, follow me on there, get instant access. Of course, we had a lot of comments. Some of them, Washington would take Wentz. I'm sure Philly should take Wentz for McSorley. We had some comments. We were talking about all sorts of things. Myself and Josh Wrest, a good buddy of mine. Thank you to Josh for joining me on the show. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Take care, stay safe, and last, certainly not least, go Bills.